All right, I'm not going to pretend Dwyane Wade is going to see this video, but I'm also not going to pretend that he won't, because the truth is what I'm about to share deserves to be in front of him. And if this is how it gets there, then this is how it gets there. My name is Raven Trammell. I am the vision architect and the co-founder of Culture Shift Universe, and today I'm making the case for why Dwyane Wade belongs in this conversation. All right, most people know Dwyane Wade as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, right? 3 championships, Finals MVP, one of the most clutch performers the sport has ever seen. But that's not why I'm talking to him today. I'm talking to him because of what he's done since the game. All right, we're going to be talking about D Wade after the game. Right? D Wade didn't retire and disappear. He leaned in. He leaned into his family, to his faith, and to his identity as a father, an advocate, and a builder. He stood publicly with his daughter Zaya at a time when a lot of people in his position would have stayed quiet. He chose to love over comfort, and he chose his child over his image. That takes a different kind of courage than anything that happens on a basketball court. Courage. So, talking about courage off the court. Whoa. Exclamation point. D Wade didn't just retire and disappear. He leaned in, like I said. You know, he's talked openly about his faith journey, and not in a performative way, but in the way that people talk about things that they are actually holding, or rather, he's talked about his faith in a way that, you know, how people talk about things that are actually holding them together. Like, he's real about it, he's honest, and he's unpolished, you know. And then he became a producer, an investor, a builder of stories and brands and platforms at that. So he understands that culture doesn't just happen, it gets made, and he wants to be one of the people making it, which is another reason why D Wade deserves to be in this conversation of Culture Shift, because he is a builder of culture. Okay, and that's the reason why I'm talking to D Wade today about Culture Shift Universe. Let me tell you where this project came from, okay? It was at a Bible study. And so one night I was at Bible study in Los Angeles, and a girl asked the group to pray for a foster kid that she was working with. He was battling suicidal thoughts. And I just sat with that for a long time, you know, because as she was sharing about this kid, it was deeply resonating with me, specifically his age, because I was that same age, which was 12 years old, when I started having those intrusive thoughts, those dark thoughts for myself, which is really sad, you know, like, I'll put that here, just to think of, like, kids, try that again, kids at such a young age just struggling with wanting to be here on earth. I know what it feels like to be that young and in that sort of darkness, and with no story that speaks to you, no hero that looks like you, no framework that tells you that your life has weight and that you have purpose here on earth. And so when I got home that night, I talked to God about it. I asked him, you know, how do we reach these kids? The ones that are slipping through every crack, the ones that are being overlooked. And he reminded me of something that I'd been building for myself, and just to help build my faith up, which was the faith training framework. It's a structure of spiritual formation rooted in identity, calling, and purpose. And then he showed me, what if that worked like a superhero training? And he started to show me that parallel. And that is really what changed my mindset on a lot of this here, right? So having the faith training be equals superhero training. And that really made me think about my nieces, my one niece specifically, and my nephews. They're obsessed with Spider-Man. Like, they would show up every week fully invested to a Spider-Man camp or Spider-Man training if that was a thing. And so, you know, it made me really think about them as well. And, you know, if the story was compelling enough that they would lean into it, you know, they would be drawn to it. And that's when God gave me the divine download. We're going to build Marvel, but with Jesus at the center. And as he was telling me that, I was like, okay, Lord, send help. Marvel, you know, that's a big Marvel. What? That's a big vision, you know, Marvel, but with Jesus. That's a big vision. I prayed for help. He sent me help the next day. My co-founder Verlenzo, and we have been building this ever since. And so that is Culture Shift, Marvel, but with Jesus. And so, before I tell you what the show is, let me show you the problem that it solves, okay? Right now, I'm just going to draw out a Venn diagram here, best I can. Stick with me. I feel like those circles aren't big enough. There we go. Okay. On one side, we have Hollywood, right? We have Hollywood there. Hollywood, high production, huge budgets, incredible storytelling craft, but it is increasingly low soul. The stories are technically brilliant and spiritually empty, to be frank. The kids are consuming 7 to 9 hours a day of this sort of content, of this sort of media. And then we have over here, we have Christian media, right? Christian media is high soul, real conviction. Make this a little easier to see. High soul, real conviction, but let's be honest, it has historically struggled with production quality, cultural fluency, and reaching the kids who actually need it the most, the ones who aren't already in church on Sunday. And so now we have this middle part right here. This is where Culture Shift lives. Bam, right there in the middle. Culture Shift lives here. It is in the gap. High production value and spiritual depth. Culturally fluent and faith rooted. But it is built for the kids who are already watching 7 hours of content a day, and it's meeting them where they're at with something that actually forms them. This is what we mean when we say that we're building Marvel, but with Jesus. Okay, so underneath here, I'm gonna just drive the point home here. So we have high production with Culture Shift and high soul is important. Okay, so this is where Culture Shift lives, right here in the middle. Let me break down what the show actually is. Okay, so Culture Shift is a faith-fueled cinematic universe. The flagship show follows two siblings, Drew and Petra, who are spiritually conflicted. They're not church kids. They're not perfect. They're real. They're authentic, you know. So we have, like I mentioned, we have our two main people here, Drew and Petra. Okay, and their new school counselor Highway, aka Yahweh, he recruits them to lead an after-school club called Culture Shift. And through that club, he's preparing a diverse group of teenagers for something much bigger, a battle against the dark forces that their assistant principal, Luther Kane, is planning to unleash on the minds of the student body. Okay, so now we have Counselor Highway. If my pen would like to do what it's supposed to do here. We have Highway and Luther Kane. Okay, so we have the light versus dark here. And this is not a Sunday school cartoon by any means. This is not watered down faith content. This is a show that takes spiritual formation seriously, that treats black and brown kids as the heroes of their own stories, you know, that builds a universe like Marvel did, but where the mythology is rich, the characters are complex, and the stakes are real, okay? And we've already built out the world, which is called the Upper Room. We've already built out the world. Sorry about that. We built out the world. It's called the Upper Room, and that is where the training happens. West Harbor, that's the city where it's set. We have a written treatment ready to go, 2 seasons mapped out, and original concept art. This universe already exists. We're just raising the resources to build it all the right way. So, why D. Wade specifically? Great question. It's because of Zaya. D. Wade made a public, costly, courageous decision to love his child fully and visibly in a world that was watching and judging. And in doing that, he sent a message to every kid who felt like they were too much, too different, too complicated to be loved. That they're not, you know? And going back to the whiteboard here, something that's super important and that we all need at the end of the day, a father's love. Right? I was blessed with a dad. Man, this is hard to talk about. I was blessed to have a dad that was this exact same way. He wasn't afraid to love me because I was different. And my dad showed me unconditional love throughout his entire life, throughout my entire life. And that is kingdom work. Whether we call it that or not, that's exactly what it is. You know, unconditional love made visible in front of other people. And that changes kids, you know, that saves kids. That saves lives, truly. And Culture Shift is built for that kid too. Our show is diverse, not as a checkbox, but as a conviction. The next generation is not monolithic, you know, their struggles are not singular. Their stories that they need are also not monolithic. And here's what I believe about D. Wade. He knows that. He lives that. You know, he spent his post-basketball life building toward a world where every kid has a chance to see themselves as worthy, as chosen, and as called. And that's exactly what Culture Shift is doing. Beyond that, D. Wade is a builder now. You know, he's invested in brands, in media, and in platforms. He understands the difference between a project and a movement. And I believe when he sees what we're building, the universe, the characters, the infrastructure we've already put in place, he's going to recognize it for what it is. It's not a pitch. It's a partnership invitation. And I want to be clear about where we're at right now. Because this is not just a cold idea that came out of nowhere. This is a project that's already in motion. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go down the list of what the Lord has accomplished through my co-founder and myself. Okay, we have the treatment. 2 full seasons mapped out in the outline. What else do we have? Oh, original concept art. We have the Class 41 trademark, which that gets a little in the weeds with the business side of things, but it was needed because the vision is grand. This is the Lord's vision. So having that culture shift is legally protected. We have the LLC established. Fractured Atlas, fiscal sponsorship secured. So that's a long way of saying as contributions come in, as donations come in, they are tax deductible. You can write those off on your taxes. What else do we have? $22,000 already raised and documented on official tax documents. And then we also have an executive producer who has been committed across multiple phases of this development. And so, you know, this is not a dreamer with a Google Doc. This is an executor with receipts. We have receipts of what we've accomplished so far. In the name of Jesus, of course, you know, the infrastructure is real, the creative work is real, and the financial proof is real. What we need now is the right partners at the right level to take it from here to up there. And I believe Dwyane Wade is one of those partners. So here's what I'm asking, okay? D Wade, I'm not asking for a wire transfer. I'm not asking you to sign anything today. I'm just asking for 15 minutes to slide the treatment across the table, okay? Read it. If it doesn't move you, we walk away. That's it. That's the ask. And if you know D Wade or anyone in his orbit, get this to him. Share this video. Tag him. Send it to someone on his team. Let the right people see it. Okay, so here's how I need your help. Get this to D Wade. Okay, and if you're watching this and you're not D Wade, you can still be a part of this. Okay. We're raising $100,000 to fund 1 full year of dedicated development. That money buys my co-founder Verlenzo and me the time and space to build this universe the right way, to write, to create, to dream, without having to do it in the margins of full-time jobs and personal grief. Every donation is tax deductible through Fractured Atlas. The link is in the description. Verlenzo and I started building this project, and then we both lost people that we loved before it was finished. His sister Shay, my dad, who was the first person who understood this project immediately. He worked the same job for 25 years. Stability was his love language. But when I showed him Culture Shift, he got it right away. He understood it right away. And I don't take that lightly. You know, he saw this one clearly before he left. And we're building this for him, for Shay, and for that 12-year-old in the dark who needs a story that tells him or her or them that they're chosen. If that moves you, come be a part of it. And just one final note. Shift the culture. Shift the culture. Build the kingdom. Create the universe. D Wade, the door is open. Come build with us.